In the year 2473, Earth had reached the height of its space expansion. After decades of exploration and research, humans had uncovered advanced alien technology that allowed them to push beyond their home planet and into the vastness of the galaxy. Their rapid advancements, however, caused unease among the galactic powers. While humanity had always been viewed as a fledgling species, the newfound technology made them a growing force that threatened the established order. In response, a coalition of alien empires, each motivated by a mix of paranoia and a desire to preserve their dominance, decided to act before humanity could become a real threat. They believed that by striking first, they could crush Earth's budding influence once and for all. The aliens, confident in their overwhelming numbers -100 to 1, believed the war would be short and decisive. The first blow came swiftly as an unknown alien fleet ambushed the outer colonies of Earth. The humans, despite being taken off guard, responded with everything they had. Earth's military was no longer the small force it had once been. It had evolved into a formidable and sophisticated fighting machine. Using tactics developed from years of military experience, combined with the powerful alien technology they had scavenged, the Earth Defense Force fought back fiercely. They launched counterattacks with guerrilla-style tactics, taking advantage of the vast terrains of their colonies. The humans used every piece of technology at their disposal, and surprisingly, they were able to land several successful blows against the invading fleet, catching the aliens off guard. For the first time, the aliens began to doubt their superiority. Yet, despite these early successes, Earth's forces were outnumbered, and the aliens had vast fleets and resources that humans could never hope to match. The battle raged on for days, with both sides suffering heavy losses. The humans pushed forward with desperate bravery, striking at the alien ship's weak points with pinpoint accuracy, but they knew their time was limited. The odds were simply too great. As the battle wore on, Earth's defense systems began to buckle. The humans had suffered too many casualties, and the once proud fleets were scattered. The alien forces, relentless and merciless, began to gain ground. By the end of the first battle, humanity was forced to retreat, leaving behind critical resources and colonies that had once been hubs of their expanding civilization. The aliens had decimated several of Earth's outer colonies, and for the first time in centuries, the hope of victory seemed distant. As Earth's fleet limped back to its home planet, battered and broken, the alien coalition celebrated. Their victory was a moment of pride, their superiority confirmed, at least for the moment. They had crushed humanity's outer defenses, and the galaxy's balance of power seemed firmly in their hands. But they didn't understand what had just transpired. The battle had not been the end, it was only the beginning. In their celebration, the aliens had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and survive. The retreat was not a sign of defeat. It was a chance to regroup, reassess, and learn from the battle. Earth had lost a significant amount of territory, but its spirit was far from broken. Unknown to the aliens, humans were already working on their next steps. They had learned valuable lessons from the skirmish, and their ingenuity was something the aliens could not predict. The galactic invaders believed they had won, but the war was far from over. Earth had only just begun to fight back, and soon they would show the aliens that underestimating humanity was the last mistake they would ever make. The stage was set for an unimaginable struggle, one that would change the course of the galaxy forever. The aftermath of the alien onslaught left Earth's military forces in shambles. What had once been a powerful and unified fleet now lay in ruins, scattered across the galaxy. Humanity, overwhelmed and outgunned, found itself teetering on the edge of extinction. The outer colonies were lost, entire fleets destroyed, and Earth itself stood exposed, vulnerable to further attacks. The devastation was so widespread that many thought the war was already over. The alien coalition, with their superior numbers and technology, had crushed Earth's defenses with terrifying efficiency. Yet, among the destruction, a small spark of hope remained. Admiral HFY, one of the few remaining high-ranking officers, had managed to rally a few survivors, soldiers, scientists, engineers, and become a symbol of resilience for the fractured human forces. Her brilliance on the battlefield, her uncanny ability to think and act quickly under pressure, earned her the respect of the few who remained. In the war-torn ruins of Earth's capital, a secret meeting was being held in an underground bunker. The remnants of humanity's once powerful alliances had gathered, representatives from Earth's last remaining allies, including the technologically advanced Centauri and the agile Raylok, who had managed to escape the worst of the invasion. With Earth's military crippled, they were humanity's last hope. Inside the bunker, the air was thick with tension. They were all too aware of the desperate situation, but in their eyes there was something else: determination. It was clear that they had no intention of just lying down and waiting to be wiped out. A bold plan was being devised, not just to defend, but to strike back. It was a chance to do the impossible, to turn the tide of war. Under Admiral Reyes' leadership, a team of elite soldiers, brilliant scientists, and innovative engineers had come together to work on a top-secret project, a new weapon that could challenge the aliens' overwhelming strength. The weapon, still in its early stages, had the potential to change everything, but it came with its own risks and unknowns. While the humans were regrouping and making plans for a counteroffensive, the alien coalition, which seemed so invincible just weeks before, was beginning to show cracks. In the initial stages of the war, the aliens had been united in their goal of annihilating humanity. But as the battle dragged on, their unity started to fray. There were murmurs of dissent within their ranks, differences between the various alien factions that had once put aside their hostility for the sake of the war effort. The Centauri, the most powerful species in the coalition, were beginning to struggle with their own internal politics. The Centauri and Raylok, once seen as weak and insignificant by the invaders, had gained a reputation for cunning and resilience. Some alien leaders, seeing how well the humans were adapting and fighting back, began questioning the leadership of the Centauri. Tensions grew, and the once unified front of the alien forces began to splinter. Admiral Reyes, ever watchful, saw an opportunity. The cracks in the alien alliance were growing wider, and humanity might be able to exploit them. With her sharp instincts, she realized that while the aliens had the numbers and the firepower, their internal conflicts were their greatest weakness. The key to victory didn't lie in trying to match the aliens' strength with brute force, it lay in playing on their disunity. Human ingenuity, adaptability, and the willingness to take risks had already proven to be formidable, and Reyes knew that if they could manipulate the chaos within the alien ranks, they could disrupt their entire war effort. As Reyes and her team worked tirelessly on their secret weapon, they also began laying plans to infiltrate the alien command structure. They would not just fight, they would infiltrate, sabotage, and turn the very forces that sought to destroy them against each other. The next move would be a dangerous gamble, but if it paid off, it could break the alien alliance from the inside, buying Earth the precious time it needed to regroup and strike back. The fate of humanity hung on the success of the weapon, but more than that, it rested on the ability to outsmart the aliens, to exploit their weaknesses in ways they never expected. As the human forces quietly gathered strength, they knew the next phase of the war would be the most dangerous of all, but it was also the most crucial. They had lost much, but they had not lost everything. The aliens might have the advantage in numbers, but humanity had something they lacked: a relentless will to survive and a mind that could turn the tide of war. Admiral Cassandra Reyes stood before her team, eyes burning with determination. The mission ahead was one of the most dangerous humanity had ever attempted, infiltrating one of the largest alien command ships ever built, a vessel that controlled a significant portion of the enemy's war machine. This ship was not just a symbol of alien might, it was the heart of their operations. The intelligence contained aboard it held the key to understanding the weaknesses in the alien forces, how their military network operated, their communication lines, and even the flaws in their technology. The mission was vital. If they succeeded, humanity would gain the upper hand. If they failed, it would be a loss that could break Earth's already fragile forces. Reyes knew the stakes, and so did her team. They had trained for this moment, but no amount of preparation could erase the dread of what they might face. With the plan set in motion, a small, elite team of soldiers, engineers, and spies boarded a stolen alien transport ship, cloaked and ready to slip through enemy lines. They traveled in silence, knowing that the slightest misstep could spell their doom. For days they navigated through hostile space, evading patrols and using stolen alien cloaking technology to avoid detection. Finally, they reached the massive alien command ship, its gleaming surface reflecting the cold light of the distant stars. The ship was surrounded by dozens of smaller escorts, making their entrance nearly impossible to detect. Yet, using a combination of human ingenuity and alien tech, they managed to breach the ship's defenses and infiltrate its inner core. The operation was a success. At first, they downloaded the intelligence they needed, uncovering critical details about the aliens' strategies, weaknesses, and command structure. But success came at a cost. The ship's security systems soon detected the breach, and the team was trapped inside. Fierce battles erupted as they fought to stay alive long enough to escape. The aliens were relentless, and though the humans fought bravely, many did not make it out. The team had lost valuable soldiers, engineers, and scientists, people who had given everything for the mission. As they made their escape, they barely managed to retrieve the data and flee before the ship went into full alert. The cost was heavy, but the price had been paid in blood. What they had uncovered could change everything. Back on Earth, the survivors of the mission were hailed as heroes, but the victory came with no time for celebration. The knowledge they had gathered was more than just a blueprint, it was a roadmap to victory. With the details of the alien military network now in their hands, humanity's engineers quickly set to work. They reverse-engineered the alien technologies they had salvaged, developing new, advanced ships and weapons systems. They created energy weapons far more powerful than anything humanity had ever known, and the new cloaking technology was perfected. Human engineers also found a way to enhance their ship's speed and maneuverability, turning them into deadly, elusive predators that could strike with precision and disappear into the shadows. The days of matching the alien forces in direct combat were over. Humanity's new strategy was simple: use surprise, speed, and stealth to turn the tide of the war. The first test of this new strategy came when Earth's forces launched a daring raid to retake one of their key outposts on the outer edges of the galaxy, a place that had been lost to the aliens during the early days of the invasion. This outpost was not just a symbol, it was a vital point for controlling trade routes and communication between Earth and its allies. Taking it back would send a powerful message to the alien coalition: humanity was not finished. The mission began in the dead of night, with human forces emerging from the shadows, launching a surprise attack on the alien garrisons. The battle was fast, fierce, and unpredictable. The humans used their new cloaking technology to move in and out of enemy lines with devastating speed, striking at the alien forces before they even knew what hit them. In a matter of hours, the outpost was retaken, and the alien defenders were routed. The victory was a turning point. For the first time since the war began, humanity had dealt a significant blow to the alien forces. The news spread across the galaxy, reigniting hope among Earth's allies and sending shockwaves through the alien coalition. The first signs of complacency began to show in the ranks of the invaders. They had underestimated humanity before, but now they were starting to realize that they had made a grave mistake. The balance of power, once thought to be firmly in the aliens' favor, was beginning to shift. The humans had learned, adapted, and struck back with a force they had never before seen. And as the war raged on, it was clear that the aliens' victory would not be as certain as they had once believed. The resurgence of humanity had begun, and the aliens were starting to feel the sting of their own overconfidence. As the war between humanity and the alien coalition raged on, Earth's forces continued to gain ground, but the struggle was far from over. In their quest for victory, Admiral Reyes and her team stumbled upon a shocking revelation. The true power behind the alien alliance was not the overwhelming numbers of the invading species, but a mysterious and almost mythical race known as the Sethari. These genetically engineered beings had long been the unseen rulers of the galaxy, pulling the strings behind the scenes and manipulating the politics of the various alien factions to serve their own ruthless agendas. The Sethari were cold, calculating, and terrifyingly intelligent, with abilities far beyond anything humanity had encountered. They were not just warriors, they were manipulators, rulers who could bend entire species to their will. It was said that they had constructed the alien coalition to act as a puppet army, driven by their own thirst for control and dominance. But as the humans uncovered more about the Sethari, a startling weakness came to light. Despite their superior technology and terrifying power, the Sethari's leadership was fragile. Beneath their cold, calculating exterior, there was a deep rift forming within their own ranks. The Sethari were not as united as they seemed. Dissension was brewing among the high-ranking officials. Some of the Sethari wanted to maintain their position of dominance over the galaxy, while others had begun to question the methods they used to control other species. This division had remained hidden from the other alien factions, and it was clear that the rebellion within the Sethari ranks was growing stronger by the day. This was a discovery that could change the war entirely. If humanity could find a way to exploit this weakness, it could cripple the Sethari leadership and turn the tide of the conflict in their favor. Admiral Reyes, knowing the gravity of what they had found, made the bold decision to launch an expedition deep into enemy territory to learn more about the Sethari and their homeworld. Her team traveled in the utmost secrecy, navigating through treacherous, hostile space to reach the heart of the Sethari Empire. The homeworld they discovered was like nothing they had ever seen, a cold, stark world covered in towering cities that seemed to pulse with a strange energy. It was a planet of contradictions, advanced yet barren, a place that reflected the Sethari themselves, powerful, but with an undercurrent of decay. As they infiltrated the heart of the Sethari Empire, Reyes and her team uncovered shocking details. The Sethari had built a fleet that was unmatched in the galaxy, massive warships, each one more powerful than anything the humans had ever seen. But what they didn't know, what the Sethari themselves had overlooked, was that their own empire was crumbling from within. The rebellion, though still in its early stages, was stronger than anyone had anticipated. There were factions within the Sethari themselves who were beginning to resist the oppressive rule of their leaders. Some were defecting, joining forces with alien species that had once been their enemies, while others were plotting an uprising that could shatter the foundation of their control. Rey stood at the edge of the Sethari city, her mind racing with the possibilities. The rebellion could be the key to ending the war, but it was also fraught with danger. If humanity intervened too soon or too forcefully, they could find themselves caught in the crossfire, unable to distinguish friend from foe. The Sethari leadership was fragile, but it was also unpredictable. There were no guarantees in this war. Every decision, every move could change the course of history. The dilemma before Reyes was immense. Should they exploit the rebellion within the Sethari ranks, fueling the fire of dissent and waiting for the inevitable collapse of their leadership? Or should they strike decisively, targeting the Sethari leadership directly and attempting to eliminate the heart of the alien coalition? Both options carried enormous risks, but only one could truly shift the balance of power. Whatever path they chose, the consequences would echo through the future of humanity. The next steps would define the outcome of the war. Either they would destroy the Sethari leadership and cripple the alien coalition, or they would risk everything on the uncertain hope that the rebellion could bring the galaxy's most feared empire to its knees. The decision was in Reyes' hands, and she knew that whatever choice she made would change everything. As the war neared its tipping point, humanity faced a desperate need to level the playing field against the seemingly unstoppable alien coalition. Conventional tactics and human ingenuity had allowed them to survive, but now Earth needed something more, a new kind of weapon. In secret laboratories hidden deep beneath the surface of Earth, scientists, and military strategists began working on a revolutionary project: the creation of biomechanical hybrids, soldiers who would combine human intellect with enhanced alien physiology. These new warriors would not only possess superior strength and resilience, but they would also be immune to alien technologies, a significant advantage in the ongoing battle. The project was humanity's last hope, and the first of these new soldiers, known as the Vanguard, was ready to be deployed. Captain Elena Moore was chosen as the leader of the first Vanguard strike team. As a soldier who had fought in the trenches of the war from the beginning, she had seen the horrors of the alien invasion firsthand. She had witnessed her comrades fall, seen entire colonies destroyed, and felt the weight of humanity's survival on her shoulders. But the transformation into a biomechanical hybrid was not something she had prepared for. The procedure that had made her stronger, faster, and more resilient had also changed her in ways she had not anticipated. Her human emotions, her memories, and her very identity had all been altered in the process. She was no longer just human, but something more, something dangerous. As she and her team prepared for their mission, Elena often found herself grappling with an unsettling question: was she still the person she had once been, or had she become a weapon, a thing, not a person? Their mission was simple but deadly: infiltrate the heart of the alien command structure and sabotage the most devastating weapon in the enemy's arsenal, a galaxy-crushing device capable of annihilating entire planets. This weapon, built by the Sethari, had the power to erase entire civilizations with a single catastrophic blast. If the aliens could use it, humanity would be wiped out in a heartbeat. To prevent that, Elena and her team had to get inside the weapon's core and destroy it from within. The task was monumental, but with their new biomechanical enhancements, they were capable of feats that no ordinary soldier could even dream of. They could endure the harshest environments, survive blows that would have killed any human, and fight with a precision and strength that made them nearly unstoppable. The mission began under the cover of darkness, as Elena and her team infiltrated the heavily guarded alien facility. They moved swiftly through the enemy defenses, their advanced abilities allowing them to bypass obstacles and eliminate alien guards with chilling efficiency. But as they neared the heart of the facility, things began to unravel. The deeper they went, the more they encountered: more advanced alien technology, more guards, and more resistance than they had anticipated. Elena's team pushed forward, knowing that failure was not an option. Time was running out, and the fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. As they reached the core of the weapon, Elena faced a choice: disable the device and complete the mission, or confront the moral dilemma that had been gnawing at her since her transformation. The more she fought, the more she realized that she was losing herself. The hybrid enhancements had given her physical strength and mental acuity, but they had also dulled her humanity. The line between soldier and machine had become dangerously thin. As she prepared to destroy the weapon, a voice inside her whispered that she was no longer entirely human. What would be left of her once the war was over? Would she still remember who she was? In that moment, Elena's team was ambushed. The alien forces had discovered their plan, and all of a sudden, the mission became a battle for survival. As the violence erupted around her, Elena fought with the strength and speed of a machine, yet the question remained: was she the same person who had once fought for freedom, for Earth, for her family? Her enhanced abilities made her unstoppable in combat, but it also meant she was becoming something else, something alien. The war had transformed not only her body but also her mind. With the weapons still intact and their retreat becoming more perilous by the second, Elena was forced to make a decision that would shape the course of her future and humanity's. Could she truly save Earth, or had she already become a weapon too far removed from humanity to ever return? As the mission spiraled out of control, Elena and her team fought their way out, barely escaping with their lives and the knowledge they needed to destroy the galaxy-crushing weapon. But the cost had been high. Each team member was scarred in ways that could never be undone. As Elena looked at the battlefield around her, she realized that the war was not just a battle for Earth's survival, but for the very soul of humanity itself. With the collapse of the alien coalition, humanity found itself on the cusp of a hard-earned victory. The once overwhelming forces of the alien invaders were now retreating, their vast fleets scattered and broken. The Earth Defense Forces, bolstered by their newfound technologies and the resilience of the human spirit, had begun pushing the invaders off Earth and reclaiming the colonies that had fallen to the aliens. Humanity had taken back what was theirs, but the cost of this victory was far from clear. Though the Sethori leadership had crumbled, it was not a simple end to the war. Instead, their collapse had unleashed chaos across the galaxy. The alien factions that had once been bound by the Sethori's iron grip were now free to pursue their own agendas, and what followed was a power struggle of unprecedented scale. Rival factions, some eager to expand their territory, others seeking revenge for past betrayals, began to clash in a series of bloody, unpredictable conflicts. The galaxy, once united under the Sethori's control, was now splintered into fractured, warring states, each one a new threat to humanity's hard-won freedom. Amid this turbulent landscape, Admiral Cassandra Reyes found herself in a position she had never imagined. No longer just a military leader defending Earth from an alien invasion, she now had to navigate the intricate and dangerous web of galactic politics. The alliances humanity had forged during the war were fragile, and many of the new alien factions were unpredictable at best. Some were willing to join humanity's cause, eager for a powerful ally to help them secure their own futures. Others, however, viewed humanity as little more than a threat to their own rise to power. Even within the ranks of those who had once been allies, loyalties were shifting as the balance of power began to tip in different directions. The once clear line between enemies and friends had become blurred, and Reyes was forced to make delicate decisions that would shape not only Earth's future, but the future of the entire galaxy. As humanity began to recover from the war, Reyes struggled with the question of whether Earth could survive in this new, fragmented galaxy. Could they secure their place among the powerhouses that remained, or would they be drawn into the chaos of the ongoing conflicts? Humanity's newfound strength was undeniable, but so was the danger of overreach. One wrong move could result in humanity being consumed by the same power struggles they had fought so hard to escape. Reyes knew that their survival depended not just on military might, but on the ability to play the political game. Alliances had to be formed, enemies had to be confronted, and the precarious peace that humanity had achieved could easily slip into another war if not handled carefully. For the first time, humanity was forced to confront the larger question of what it truly wanted in this new era. They had fought for survival, for freedom, for a place in the galaxy. But now that the war was over, the real challenge had begun. Would humanity emerge as a dominant force in this fractured galaxy, or would they be swallowed by the very chaos they had fought to escape? Reyes couldn't afford to let her guard down. As she stood before the Council of Allied Species, her mind raced through the possible alliances, the threats, and the fragile peace they had all worked so hard to build. The war had ended, but the battle for control of the galaxy was just beginning. The Sethori's collapse had created a power vacuum, one that many factions would seek to fill. Some were already positioning themselves, ready to take advantage of the instability. If humanity made the wrong alliances or failed to act decisively, they could find themselves at the mercy of the same factions that had once been their enemies. And yet, if they moved too quickly or aggressively, they could trigger a new war, a war that could tear apart everything they had fought for. Reyes' every decision would be scrutinized, her every move watched by both allies and enemies alike. There was no clear path forward, only a constant, shifting dance of diplomacy and strategy. The weight of the galaxy now rested on humanity's shoulders, and Admiral Reyes knew that the future of the human race would be decided not just by their strength in battle, but by their ability to survive and thrive in the turbulent politics of a fractured galaxy. The tides of war had shifted, but the currents of power had only just begun to pull humanity into a new, uncertain future. As the galaxy settled into an uneasy peace, Earth stood as the last beacon of hope, a symbol of humanity's resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. The once unimaginable victory over the alien coalition had been hard-won, and yet the cost was staggering. Entire worlds had been destroyed, cities reduced to ashes, and millions of lives lost in the fires of war. The human race had been tested in ways no one could have foreseen, forced to confront the darkest corners of their own existence, only to rise from the ashes as the galaxy's new power. But despite that triumph, the victory felt hollow to many, for in the wake of the destruction, countless questions remained unanswered. What was the true cost of survival? What kind of future had humanity truly secured, and was it worth the sacrifices made? Admiral Cassandra Reyes, now a living legend, had been at the heart of it all. From the first devastating invasion to humanity's final push for survival, she had led with unwavering determination. Her name was spoken with reverence across the galaxy, but in her eyes, the scars of the war ran deep. She stood on the balcony of Earth's new capital, looking out over a world that had been rebuilt, but never fully healed. It had been years since the final battle, yet the ghosts of the past lingered. She had lost so many, and in return, had seen the galaxy forever changed. The alien coalition may have collapsed, but in its place, new threats had emerged: fractured factions, unsteady alliances, and the ever-present specter of war. Reyes knew that humanity's victory had been more than just the defeat of an enemy. It had been a testament to the strength of the human spirit. And yet, with that victory came responsibility. Earth may have risen to the top as a major galactic power, but the future remained uncertain. New alliances were being formed, but old grudges lingered, and the question of whether humanity could maintain peace in such a fractured galaxy was far from clear. Would they create a new era of cooperation, or would they fall into the same traps of greed and division that had nearly destroyed them in the first place? Humanity had a chance to build something better, something stronger. But would they choose the path of wisdom, or would they repeat the mistakes of their past? As Admiral Reyes pondered the future, a new challenge emerged, something darker, something more dangerous than any threat humanity had yet faced. From the depths of space, a new force began to stir, an unknown enemy whose intentions were shrouded in mystery. Its arrival was sudden and terrifying, a reminder that the galaxy was far from the peaceful place humanity had hoped for. There was no way to know what this new threat would bring, but one thing was certain: humanity's journey was far from over. The victory they had won could prove to be just the beginning of an even greater story. In the face of this looming uncertainty, Admiral Reyes stood resolute. The sacrifices of the past, the loss of so many, would not be in vain. Humanity had proven its ability to endure, to survive, and to rise against all odds. And though the future remained uncertain, Reyes knew that as long as humanity held onto the indomitable spirit that had carried them through the war, they could face anything that came their way. The galaxy had underestimated them before, but humanity had shown that it would not be broken. With a renewed sense of purpose, Reyes turned toward the future, ready to lead once more, knowing that the legacy of humanity was not one of destruction, but of hope. And no matter what the stars held in store, humanity would face it head-on, as they always had, unbowed, undaunted, and united in their will to survive. The story was far from over, and humanity was just beginning to write its next chapter.